Welcome to the Rotoworld Basketball Show. I'm Vaughn Dalzell, joined by Raphielle Johnson of NBC Sports. Plus, Dan Titus sitting between us, representing Yahoo Sports. And Dan, you got the Suns hat on. We got to get to that one here in a second because they got a big game tonight. But we're breaking down Joel Embiid and Tyrese Halliburton's return. Knicks and Nets dealing with their own dilemmas, ranging from Julius Randle to Ben Simmons. Plus, hopefully, we give you some hot and cool takes today. I wanted to start the show, Raphielle, with a quick hello and question to you. I watched the documentary We Are the World. Had no idea because I was way too young that this was a whole worldwide occasion where people got together to listen to a song. Yeah. But my main takeaway from this entire documentary was the beef between Michael Jackson and Prince. Boy, was it petty. And I like my beef with a side of pettiness. So I want to ask you, out of everyone in the NBA, teams or players, who's got that Michael Jackson and Prince beef going? Who's got that rivalry?
That's a good question. I don't really know, man. I don't really know if there is one. There's some petty beefs. Like maybe Dan has a good answer for you because I don't really pay attention to that stuff, to be honest with you. Seriously, I really don't care. Like I'm very much into the games and all that. It's like some of the other stuff. I don't like Embiid and Jokic don't have a beef, no matter how much people try to make it so. They don't have an issue with each other. Probably Dillon Brooks and LeBron, but Dillon Brooks has beef with like damn near everyone because he's Dillon Brooks and he plays to that edge and goes over it at times, as we saw the other night when they beat the Lakers. But that edge is a big reason why he's in the NBA. So I guess if I were to pick one, I'd probably go with that one.
Yeah, hard not to pick like Draymond Green versus the world or Dillon Brooks versus the world. You know, those are the easy answers for sure. Dan, is it Luka and Book? You got the Suns hat on.
Yeah, I feel like it was meant for me to wear the Suns hat because I feel like Luka and Book is the one. They clearly don't. I mean, at least they get into it on the court, and they're definitely taking shots at each other in the press. So I feel like that one, especially because we'll probably see that rivalry kind of take shape in the playoffs yet again. I think that's probably the most interesting one. Then it's like, I think you're right with the other ones. Like Draymond versus the world, Dillon Brooks versus the world. Like I think that all makes sense.
Yeah, Rudy Gobert and Towns versus teammates at times. I mean, it's just on and on. Patrick Beverley versus anyone who has a basketball.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just thought that was hilarious and a fun thing to do. When I asked my brothers and my girlfriend, they all had the answer: Draymond Green versus somebody. And I'm like, yeah, that's the cop out.
I thought you were going to ask us who do we choose between Prince and Michael Jackson.
Yeah,
and you could. Who would you take? I know way more Michael Jackson songs than Prince.
Yeah, I'm more of a Mike guy myself. Uh-oh.
Let's go. Right.
I like them both, but I think I would go with Prince. I'd go with Prince personally.
Fun fact, like 3 or 4 Halloweens ago, I dressed up as Prince because, I'm light-skinned enough to do it. Had the guitar, put on the little makeup and everything, had the whole outfit. Yeah, had the blouse. And, the party loved it until they start playing Prince music. And they're like, Vaughn. I'm like, what? They're like, Prince is on. And I'm like, this is Prince?
Yeah, that's why I don't do that.
Yeah, that was a bad idea.
Expect you to perform and all that. Like, you guys paying?
Yeah, I'm just a man. I'm just a man in half man, half female clothing. That's all. But yeah, good Halloween and good documentary, by the way. And does Joel Embiid have beef with his knee? Because I mean, this guy aggravated again against the Warriors. They got smacked up, and now 65 game requirement for MVP. It's all going out the window. It seems like for Joel Embiid.
Yeah, I feel like the Embiid's beef should be with the Sixers medical staff and the NBPA and the next negotiation for the 65 game limit, because I feel like Tyrese Halliburton has a point. Like I think it's definitely pushing players to want to play more because they have money tied to all NBA and stuff like that. Like I don't necessarily think that this is an awards thing. I think this is the money that's tied up into the incentives. And so if someone has to push an injury just so they meet a requirement, that's a problem. We didn't have this issue through the history of basketball, right? Like Bill Walton got an MVP for playing 58 games or something like that back in the day. So I think it's setting the wrong precedents. Like I think they're trying to fix the problem of load management, but I don't know that putting a game limit is really going to solve that or make it better. You're only going to hurt your product, which is further, you don't have the best players playing. Like that's a problem. So With Embiid, I'm concerned. I would pick up Paul Reed everywhere just because this doesn't look like, even if the MRI comes back clean, it still sounds like this is something that's going to need rest. There's swelling, there's inflammation. He shouldn't have been out there. He was playing on one leg. It looked awful watching it all game against the Warriors, and then ultimately Kuminga fell on his leg. So pick up Paul Reed. In his absence, Paul Reed in his career hasn't been great subbing in for Joel Embiid, but this year he's averaging 12.7 rebounds and almost 2-3 assists, and he can give you some stocks too. So I think it's worth adding him in the short term until we know more about Joel Embiid.
Yeah, Paul Reed was excellent against the Nuggets tonight. So is Patrick Beverley. He's been playing really well lately too. Got to give him a shout out. And we lived through two phenomenons, Raphael. One, COVID. Two, load management. Totally changed the NBA forever. So what is your outlook on it with Embiid's situation? Also, I mean, Tyrese Halliburton coming back too, because Dan made some good points about his contract too.
Yeah, I'm kind of tired of it all because it feels like a lot of the load management conversation is being pushed on the players when a decision is being made by medical staffs. I wish that part of the equation was discussed a bit more because, you think about it, when we discuss trades, we talk about players as assets as much as anything. So if you're a franchise, your goal is to win, of course, but also to protect those assets. So you're not going to put a guy out there. I think if anything, the money shouldn't be tied to those, games limits and awards for that reason. Because if you don't want to pay a guy an extra $40 million and he's been a bit banged up, what's to say you don't try to sit him, a little bit. Mm-hmm. So I think that's something else to consider here. I agree with Dan. Paul Reed's the pickup right now. He didn't play well in 10 minutes last night. I think he had one rebound, didn't score, but no Embiid, they really don't have anywhere else to turn there. To the Indiana, Halliburton only played 22 minutes. He's on a minutes restriction. I don't know why they didn't space out the minutes a bit more if he was on a restriction, because I think he was done by like the third quarter at some point in Tuesday's loss to the Celtics. So if you have Andrew Nembhard, I would hold on to him for a little bit, especially with TJ McConnell also missing time, first personal reasons, and now an illness. So I think those are the two guys should be on fantasy managers' radars or still be on their radars at this point.
Yeah, well said on all ends. And I think that, we're just creating more problems for these players in the long run, as you both mentioned. And when we're looking at categories, to be MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, Most Improved, all this stuff, playing 65 games of 20-plus minutes or at least 62 games, you're getting all these small little tidbits. I think we're getting too picky whenever it's all up to the judgment of people. Higher caliber of us in the sporting world where they get to choose who wins these awards. But it should be up to them to decipher whether or not a guy that's played 57 games compared to a guy who's played 72 deserves to win an award. If you cannot make that judgment yourself, maybe you shouldn't be voting. But I don't think we should be doing this to the players right now.
Yeah.
It makes too much sense.
It makes way too much sense. But again, hey, this is America. The Knicks, America's team, Raphael.
That's right.
Julius Randle.
Please.
Oh, man. Let's talk about them because they're dealing with some injury news. Jalen Brunson's been playing well. Dante DiVincenzo playing extremely well in the last two games in particular. We got Julius Randle's shoulder injury. OG Anunoby hopping up on the injury report with an elbow injury. Who are we considering there in the state of the Empire mind?
I think Josh Hart was the obvious pickup. I think he's well over 60% roster now in Yahoo leagues. First career triple-double against the Jazz on Tuesday. So there's him. But also Precious Achiuwa. He started the last two games with OG Anunoby also sidelined, playing exclusively at the 4 on Tuesday. Had a really good night. I think he scored 18 points and 5 rebounds, something to that effect. So I think he's someone, if you missed out on Hart, I would strongly consider adding Precious, because even if Anunoby is back for Thursday's game against the Pacers, Precious will be the backup center. They can use him at both the 4 and the 5, which I think helps his value while you wait for news on Randle. We still don't know the depth of that in terms of how much time he can miss. And then Anunoby, that elbow has been an issue for a little bit. I think he's had the KT tape on it for a few games now before he sat. So, yeah, Precious Achiuwa is probably going to be that guy right now, I think, in terms of a targeted ad.
Yeah, I love that look. Dan, would you agree with that? And is there anyone else that you're looking at in New York? Is Dante DiVincenzo like over 60, 70% rostered right now, I'm assuming?
Yeah, Dante's sitting around the 60 range.
Okay.
But I feel like he's got rest of season value for a hold for sure. But yeah, I agree with Raph, and it's really about the volume and the minutes that Achua is getting, right? Like over the course of the season, he's only averaging like 18 minutes, but that's spiked up to over 28, 29 minutes, even 30 minutes a game. And we know well about Tom Thibodeau always trusting certain guys. And if he's already in that circle of trust, like he's going to be getting minutes. So he may be a little bit inconsistent from game to game. Like I think he only had like 4 points last game, but he also had he had like 14 points last game. But then other games he rebounds better. He can get some stocks. Like he's a pretty versatile player when he gets minutes. And I think that that's what you're really picking him up for is those minutes. So I'd be down with picking up Achua, and he's widely available, man. He's available in like 82% of leagues right now. So he's a guy that you can pick up in a 12 team, and he'd still probably likely be out there. One other name I'd maybe throw out there is Quentin Grimes. He's still around that 20 minutes mark. He's doing more than he was before. And I don't know if this is an effort to maybe put him on the trade block to catch a bigger fish, but he's playing more minutes now. And if OG Anunoby continues to miss time, like I think he's somebody that's going to probably benefit there too.
Yeah, Quentin Grimes is somehow always getting minutes in New York, part of that everlasting guard rotation. They try to split up there. Sad you guys didn't bring up Taj Gibson, but he's a holiday special only. Hasn't played in a month. Maybe he'll get some shine.
Yeah, he played last night. A couple minutes late.
Did he?
Yeah, they were cheering. We want Taj, and then Tibbs put him in with the rest of the deep reserve. So yeah,
respect.
Taj is back.
Yeah, Taj is back. We'll stick in New York. We'll over to Brooklyn. Ben Simmons is back. 10 points,
Kinda.
5 of 5 shooting, 11 assists, 8 rebounds. Jazz, yeah, kind of. I mean, obviously, I'm not too excited, too thrilled to be talking about Ben Simmons here because it's a wait and see. This is game number 7 on the year for Ben Simmons, Raphael. What'd you think, man?
He looked outstanding. The only issue is that he's back on the injury report. I think the positive is that it's because of a knee contusion as opposed to the back issue. He's questionable for Wednesday's game against the Suns. He just unlocks so much for that team in terms of his playmaking ability, his defensive ability as well. You know what you're going to get in terms of the shooting. It's not going to be there, layups and dunks guy, but he can do so much else on the floor. I think it kind of freed up Mikal Bridges. He's going to have like 36 against the Jazz on Monday or something to that effect. Mm-hmm. So to have a credible playmaker out there, because Spencer Dinwiddie really hasn't gotten the job done. Dennis Smith Jr. has had his moments, but neither of those guys have been good enough. So to get Simmons back would be big for them, but the availability remains a concern.
Yeah, as it always will be with Ben Simmons for the most part. When he's on the court, even in those 18 minutes, like you said, almost a near triple-double against the Utah Jazz team. Doesn't play much defense. So moving forward, we'll see. But will he duck the smoke, Dan, with Kevin Durant, his return to Brooklyn tonight?
Yeah, I'm not overly optimistic he's going to play tonight, man. I'm just concerned about the injuries. Like, if it's not a back thing, it's a knee thing. If it's not that, it's probably something else. He looked great, and he only played 18 minutes, and to put up that kind of numbers, that's crazy. That's why you held on to him for so long. I would just temper expectations, man. When he plays, he's great, but more often than not, he's gonna not be a person you can rely on. So I don't know. I guess you could say this is a sell high moment, but I don't know that anyone's actively going to be looking to acquire Ben Simmons at this point. So I don't know. I think you just ride this out if you have him. And if he's hurt, stash him in IL if you can afford it.
Yeah, Ben Simmons is he reminds me of an episode of Scooby-Doo I watched yesterday. Yes, I do watch Scooby-Doo as a grown man. But one of the villains was in the ladder industry. And they asked him, how can you be in the ladder industry when you have all this money? He said, everyone buys a ladder, then you have it forever. And it's just there. Ben Simmons is just a ladder. He's just there. And he's going to be durable for a few times. And that's it. Only when you need him. And they don't really need him. No one particularly is in the Ben Simmons business. Just as a quick question, because I'm over this conversation. 1 out of 10, how much do you trust in Ben Simmons being a target as a trade piece for your fantasy team? 1 through 10, 10 being the most confident.
A solid piece or to trade him? Just
a solid piece that you can play in your 8 or 9 man rotation.
Yeah, I'd say 4.5. I think that the production is there when he's available, but the availability question is just too much. I think between him and Jonathan Isaac are like the two players who have to be like incredibly infuriating for fantasy managers, because we've seen the glimpses of what they can do when they're at their best, but it's just a matter of how often they're actually healthy enough to do that.
Yeah, I probably give it like a 3.5. I don't really have much confidence, and I wouldn't want to trade for him. Like the Brooklyn Nets are in an interesting position because like they haven't figured out yet whether they're going to be sellers, but I have a feeling that they're going to be, because they have way too many wings over there that could be helping out other teams. So I don't even know what this team construction is going to look like. And if they're not in a good position to be winning games, why would you press Ben Simmons to play games? I don't know. He's just not a guy that I'd be targeting right now.
Yeah, that's sitting in the 11th spot there. They're one game back, or half a game back of the Atlanta Hawks in the 10th spot, and 1.5 games back of the Bulls for the 9. So they're still in potential to make the postseason. Also in potential to not even cut it close if they decide to sell a couple of those key guys: Mikal Bridges, Cam Thomas, possibly Ben Simmons. How about Evan Mobley, Raphael? Because he came back, looked pretty good in 20-plus minutes, 10 points, 9 rebounds, near double-double for him. Only 1 steal, no blocks, though. We want to see that improve. What's your outlook on him? Is there anyone worth dropping now in Cleveland?
I think the Dean Wade and Isaac Okoro ships had already sailed. They weren't like great streaming options when they were both starters. So I think those two are the ones that are probably you're going to want to part with, especially if there's a more attractive option on the waiver wire. Mobley, I don't know how long his minutes restriction is going to last for. That's one thing to kind of consider here, but also Jared Allen's questionable due to illness for Wednesday's game. So we'll see if he's available. And then I don't know. I saw someone pick up Damian Jones before Evan Mobley returned. I would not advise to do that at all, but I think if anything, Wade, Okoro, those are the guys that even now, once Mobley's back, just go ahead and let those guys go.
And then what's your opinion on the Cleveland situation? Because we know when Mobley is healthy, he's a double machine, even with or without Jared Allen.
Yeah, I don't think there's really an ad here. I think if you waited it out for Evan Mobley, like you're happy to get him back. Same with Darius Garland. He's expected to play on Wednesday night, so it'd be nice to see him. And this Cleveland Cavaliers squad that's been just reeling off wins without 2 of their best players. So just really curious to see how this chemistry kind of comes together with them both missing so many games, Mobley and Garland, and Mitchell playing at first round value for much of the season.
Yeah, the Cavaliers are 9-1 in their last 10 games, tied for the best record in the NBA in that span. Who do you guys think is tied with them? Oh, Dan missed it.
The answer is
Is it the Knicks? No, it's Thunder.
Yeah, it is.
Is it the Knicks?
Yep.
All right, it's the Knicks. Dang.
Yeah. 2 of the hottest teams in the league, sitting at 3 and 4 in the Eastern Conference right now. The Knicks are 1.5 games back. Milwaukee Bucks. They're doing so well that I saw not 1, but 2 analysts tweet out why the Knicks could make the NBA Finals. We're not going to talk about that, though. Cade Cunningham.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves here.
Yes. Agreed. Listen to a real fan. Let's talk about the Pistons, because we have to, right? They're the best team to talk about. Cade Cunningham did return on Saturday, but he's a late scratch on Sunday, Dan. Any faith moving forward? Are you trying to sell Cade Cunningham if you can?
No, I'm a staunch Cade supporter. He's on like 4 of my fantasy teams, so like I'm not trading him or Jalen Duren for anything. I shouldn't say for anything, but I'm just not looking to actively get rid of him. It's pretty frustrating that when he was ruled out on Sunday, it was like he was probable to play, and then he just got downgraded to out like an hour before. So just another example of the NBA just needing to tighten up their injury reporting, because like, especially when you're playing on Yahoo leagues, you can take players out of IL, put other players in, and like it screwed up some things for me personally. So, but no, I like Cade Cunningham, and I think that the Pistons are at a point now where they're trying to evaluate where this is going. I don't know why they need any more evaluation for these veterans, but for whatever reason, they're doing it. So I think Cade's going to be good, man. He had the time off. I think they want to see him back with this lineup and see what they have. So I'd be Cade was a top 60 guy before he got hurt, and I would expect that he would continue to be that. His turnovers were getting cut down. He's been more efficient. He's a guy that I definitely want to roster if you have him.
Yeah, entering this season, I know none of us were high on the Pistons, but it seemed like we were all pretty high on what Cade Cunningham could be if he was healthy. And that was the question, Raphael. Will he be healthy? He's not only missed 9 games, could be 10 coming up here if he misses another. But same question to you. Are you willing to sell him, or are you holding on to Cade Cunningham?
I would hold on to him. I think he's someone who's like he should be safe from like the late season shutdowns because they still need to see how all those young pieces are going to work together. I think it may have been even later when he was ruled out on Sunday, if I'm not mistaken. Like, I think they were like going through starting lineups and it's like, hey, he's not playing tonight.
Like 20, 30 minutes before the game.
Yes. Before the actual starting lineups were like when the players walked through that late. So I think, of course, I'm a bit greedy as a fantasy person, but I wish the NBA would focus more on that than getting guys to play 65 games, especially when you're out here taking sponsorship money from these, fantasy and DFS companies, but beyond that, I'm holding with Cade. The turnovers can be an issue. He had 7 on Saturday. I think that may be just as much about rust as anything because he was cutting those down before the injury. So him, I think, if anything, if you're looking at that roster, maybe in terms of a stash, if you can afford it, someone like a Marcus Sasser, maybe hold on to him for later in the season because I think he's going to play more. Like if they don't know what they have in Killian Hayes by now, there's no saving of that franchise. So I think someone like him, if you can hold him till like after the All-Star break, see what happens with his minutes then.
Do you think they're going to start to showcase Monte Morris a little bit more since he hasn't really played much of the season and he's definitely a person that could help, a playoff contender?
Yeah, I think it's possible for sure. I don't know the difference between like quad and hamstring injuries in terms of how easy it is to aggravate it, but I think him, Alec Burks, we've seen him pretty much in like the shop window for like the last month or so. So I think some of those guys, I think in the short term, maybe try to put them out there to drive up their trade value because they really won't have any use in Detroit after the deadline.
Right.
Yeah, I'm agreed there. I wanted to ask you guys if you saw this before we get to some injury talk, because you talked about sponsorship dollars and scratches, and just reminds me of this guy, LeBron James. He's good for
no one wants your picks, bro. No one wants your picks.
Dude.
I mean, we do. We want to fade those picks.
Right.
When the NBA starts and the NFL season's still on, this guy's gonna be giving picks on the weekend. All right. Okay.
How is this how is this?
How's it legal?
How is this allowed? What? Like, were you going to tell me that LeBron's not cool with football players?
Yeah.
Like at all? Like, come on. It's LeBron James. Like, how is this? How is this not?
The thing that caught my eye is like right before that, he kind of kicked off his annual passive aggressive season with the emoji tweet.
Right? He's got to be gone.
Dude,
got to be gone.
You can't save that roster with just firing the coach.
No, you cannot.
Like, only a person who hasn't been watching him play would actually believe that. So, all right. And the guy's got a player option. You really firing your coach to appease him? I know he's arguably the greatest of all time, but the Lakers need to start thinking long-term here, and he's 39. I'm sorry, but
what's the chances they go ahead and get the Milwaukee Bucks head coach that just got fired?
I mean, there's not many options left out there. That's why I like that. I feel like that's the one thing that's like holding Darvin Ham's job, like security, pretty good. Is that like who are you going to replace him with at this point? Yeah. So, but no, man. Like I feel like there's been a lot of players that are taking subtle shots at Darvin Ham in the media, and I just don't know how it gets corrected because like you can't trade D'Lo now because his value is too high. This dude's been a top 10 player in fantasy over the last week and a half, 2 weeks maybe even. Which is absurd considering that, this guy was like a bench guy, just a month ago. But like, I don't know where this Jared Vanderbilt gets minutes now. Like he's a guy that I added in a couple spots because the Lakers have a 4-game week. But like, I don't know. I don't know what moves they can make to make this team better in real life. and I don't know that they can. I think it's like that ship sailed, right? Like they're just not a good team.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird because I was definitely on here and kept vouching for the Lakers, saying that they can be a deep team. I like their 8, 9, 10-man rotation with their names. And I agree, Raphael, when you said if you've been watching them, then you know there's really no saving this team. And there's games where against the Warriors, LeBron James has to have immaculate 40, 20, 10 game to keep them in the game with Anthony Davis banged up, who Anthony Davis has only missed, 3 or 4 games all season.
Yeah, he's been good this year.
Very healthy.
Yeah.
So, there's a lot of issues going on with the Lakers. It might be internally. It might be with a lot of these younger players that aren't meshing. But, 39 years old, LeBron, it might be time to player coach it out, Bill Russell style. I don't know what they're going to do to save that franchise. But I'm here for the show. And I guess I'm here for Raphael to talk about the Clippers later, too, because I want to hear about that. But on the other side of this promo, because on Wednesday – you guys can stream back-to-back Big Ten basketball games Wednesday night. Indiana starting the party at 6:30 Eastern when the Lady Hoosiers take on Maryland in College Park, and in the nightcap, Caitlin Clark and Iowa hit the road for a date at Northwestern, 8 p.m. Eastern. You can watch both conference showdowns exclusively on Peacock, and I'm going to tell you, I've been watching Caitlin Clark lately. Such a walking bucket. It is insane. Even guys, the juvenile detention center, I've been working out on the side. They've been watching Caitlin Clark, and we've watched them together, and they're absolutely in love with this girl. They think she is the biggest deal. So I'm excited to check her out Wednesday night. I was excited last week when you were with me, Raphael, on my Mavericks bet to win their division, and then now Luka Doncic is on the injury report. Kyrie Irving got a thumb injury. I don't feel that great. They're both out on Wednesday. What's the move picking up streaming tonight for Dallas?
Jaden Hardy. As of last night, he was only 3% rostered in Yahoo leagues. It's a bit of a roll of the dice, but I can't recall who we were talking about earlier, but it's like, who else can they turn to? Tim Hardaway Jr. is going to be rostered in most standard leagues at this point, as he should be. Josh Green doesn't really excite me. Steph Curry, even worse. But yeah, Jaden Hardy is going to be that guy to kind of target. I believe they may be without Derek Lively II as well. So I don't really see any targets in terms of their bigs, but Jaden Hardy is going to be someone, maybe Grant Williams, just because of how well he's played recently, but Hardy's the guy.
I love that look. Yeah, when I saw Dallas, they were 13, 14-point underdogs tonight, and I was like, whoa, to Minnesota. So I definitely – it appears they're going to get smacked up tonight. So, Dan, there might be some value, some on lower-name players. But at the same time, in the NBA, we know when the better players are out during the game, teams come out pretty unfocused. And Minnesota, a team that we talked about last week, shown some immaturity lately.
Yeah, you always got to be concerned about those double-digit favorites going up against some inferior opponents. I feel like there's always that back door that's open. But I probably wouldn't pick up. I guess if you want to shoot for the upside, you go with Jaden Hardy because he can give you 20 points and fill up the stat sheet a little bit, but he could also have a very efficient game against one of the better defending teams. So I would probably use Hardy and Josh Green both for DFS purposes, not redraft leagues, because this is a big Wednesday slate anyway. So the chances of you fitting in a bench guy like that into your lineups is probably going to not work out too well. You're probably just be wasting a pick. I'd rather spend that waiver transaction on Thursday or Saturday where you have lighter slates.
Yeah, I think that's a great advice. Sometimes the best advice is no move at all. And that might be the case here, Dan. So I do like that, especially like I said, in a game that could be a big, big blowout. Let's go to Oklahoma City because they played the Timberwolves, had some injury problems. Jalen Williams and Isaiah Joe both could be out here. So is there anyone worth targeting? Because we know it's the SGA and Chet Holmgren show there. But there's got to be somebody else, Raphael.
I don't really know, man. I don't really think so. Maybe Lou Dort. He's already starting. Maybe pick him up in some standard leagues, but I don't know. There really isn't anybody there. I think Cason Wallace, but he's more of a really deep league kind of target at this point. Aaron Wiggins doesn't really do too much for me either, but some of those guys will have opportunities. I just don't think, that point Dan made earlier, 10-game night, you probably find better value elsewhere on the schedule.
Yeah. Dan, do you agree with that?
Yeah, no disagreement from me. And I used to recommend Lou Dort, but he's just kind of tapered off, man. He just hasn't been productive enough for me, despite getting all the minutes. So, yeah, I'd pass on anyone from the Thunder, even though there's a bunch of injuries there.
All right, let's head over to Golden State because Jonathan Kuminga obviously had a lot of comments about Steve Kerr the past month or two, and Kerr now saying he's going to be in the starting five once Clay returns for the foreseeable future. Raphael, are you feeling like you're believing this? Does this boost Kuminga's presence a lot? Because he had a nice game in his last outing.
Yeah, he's played really well recently. The only thing you're kind of struggling with as a fantasy manager is that we've kind of heard this type of talk from Steve Kerr before. You remember when Brandon Pajemski and Trace Jackson Davis played really well during the holidays? Like they'll be in the rotation for the foreseeable future, and then they promptly fell out of the rotation. So I think in this case, it's undeniable that Kuminga has to be on the floor and playing starters minutes. So you may be safe there. I'm all in on Jonathan Kuminga, especially with Draymond Green back. They're not asking him to do as much in terms of making plays for other people. He can just get the ball and go. And I think that's where he's at his best right now.
Yeah, Green's been playing pretty well too. And Kuminga got the shot out from LeBron on his historic night doing his interview, saying how guys like Kuminga keep him young. It was certainly a good battle between those two. Dan, what's your thoughts on Jonathan Kuminga? Where do you think he could end up end of the season? Like top 40 player, top 50, or is he, farther, closer to top 100?
I think he could probably, because the first few months of the season was pretty rocky, so it kind of depressed his fantasy value. But he's been top 60 over the last month. I don't see why he can't hold that. I'd say maybe I'll give it conservatively top 75, maybe, because like he's clearly the second best player on the Warriors from a fantasy perspective. Like he gives them everything that they don't have: athleticism. He can get to the rim. He can shoot. Like he's been being more aggressive from three. Especially last night, man. I just feel like he just has this energy and momentum that everyone else is just lacking except for Steph Curry on that roster. So
It's youth.
Yeah, it's youth. Yeah, right. It's youth. So at this point, you know what I'm saying? Like, they can't trade Kuminga. Like, he should be off the table. If you want to trade Moses Moody and Klay Thompson, like, okay, like that's fine. They're not really getting minutes. Well, Moody wasn't really getting minutes anyway. But Kuminga's a guy that's here to stay. And if he's available in shallow leagues, man, pick him up. Like, I still see he's still available in 30% of leagues, man. He's got to be closer to that 80, 90% range now, in my opinion, just because he's been so good over the last month, and there's no way that they're going to be able to take him out of the lineup now.
Yeah, you got a lot of inconsistencies all year with, Klay Thompson and Andrew Wiggins, and Draymond Green's been in and out the lineup because of his issues. So, yeah, Kuminga's definitely been the number two there, and maybe not everyone's caught on. That's just playing fantasy and not watching on a nightly basis. But I'm intrigued to see what happens in Golden State moving forward because they keep winning at home, keep losing on the road. So we'll see how that works out for them. I want to cover two more guys though before we get into the rest of the Week 15 schedule. Can't believe we're this far in the season already, guys. And of course, all our pickups for the week. But Aaron Nesmith and Ayo Dosunmu. I watched the Raptors and Bulls play last night. Not surprised at all the Bulls lost. But Zach LaVine and Pat Williams being out gives Ayo that boost, and he looked great, where Kobe White didn't look as great. So, Raphael, do you want to talk about either Ayo or Aaron Nesmith or both?
I think I could talk a bit more about Ayo Dosunmu. Nesmith is pretty much a known commodity at this stage. Should be rostered in more leagues, but I'm going to go with Dosunmu. I think the area, like the space for him to kind of emerge is opened up here. Patrick Williams out at least 2 weeks with a foot injury. Zach LaVine's out probably until the All-Star break with his ankle injury. And who's to say he doesn't get traded before the deadline anyway? So I think Dosunmu's in a good spot in terms of minutes. Whether or not he can take advantage on a consistent basis, we'll see. I thought he played well on Tuesday against the Raptors and got like 21 points, something like that. So if he's available in your shallow leagues, not shallow leagues, but deep leagues rather, I think Dosunmu's going to be someone worth picking up right now.
Yeah, I love the draft position when they got him. I love that selection out of Illinois. I thought in college he was the second best player that year in college behind Cade Cunningham. But I obviously didn't think Ayo Dosunmu was going to translate nearly as well as Cade would in the NBA, which is still true. But he looks good, Dan. And he's been strong with him and Kobe White. That's a young guard duo that you could probably build around, even though you're going to be losing games. So what do you think about him?
Yeah, I like Io a lot. I featured him in the playlist this week. Like he was one of the guys I was targeting just based off the schedule. But not now that Levine's probably not coming back over the next week, and then Patrick Williams is also hurt, as Raph suggested. I think Io Dosunmu is definitely a guy you can hold on to. Alex Caruso is a guy that I would look at in shallow leagues. He's still available in 40% of leagues. I think both of these guys are going to benefit with all the injuries going on in Chicago right now. And I don't know. We'll see what Chicago does what they do at the deadline. I don't know if they're going to do anything, but as long as their best players or two of their best players are on the shelf, like you got to look to those reserves because they're going to get 30 minutes plus.
Yeah, if Dosunmu keeps playing so well, as long as Kobe White, you could see like a guy like Alex Caruso also getting shipped out alongside Zach LaVine or in separate deals too, in my opinion, as they might get really close to that complete rebuild. Before we get on the opposite side of the schedule, though, I do want to ask you guys two quick questions about tonight's games because there is Damian Lillard's return to Portland and the Bucks versus Blazers, and then Kevin Durant's return to Brooklyn and Suns versus Nets. Who scores more points tonight? Dame Dollar, Kevin Durant, or who has the better stat line? Because we know Kevin Durant's been getting boards and assists a lot lately.
I'm gonna go with Dame.
Yeah, I would say that too. I think Brooklyn has a bit more to be able to defend Kevin Durant than the Blazers do to have Dame. So, yeah, I think I would go with that as well.
Yeah. And we know Dame's going to be headhunting too, trying to point out his wrist and doing everything he can when he shoots threes in Portland. So he's not the favorite, though, to be the leading scorer of that game, which I thought was interesting. Giannis is, of course. But
Giannis
it feels like
absolutely dominate Aiden.
Yeah, but that's actually a little not like a rivalry that's spoken on, but it's when those two play, because Giannis obviously just dominates him, but you could tell those two players do not like each other. But I'm excited to watch that game in particular tonight. I'm going to stay up late to do it. Lots of ice cream and stuff like that to keep me up, guys. Who
does Giannis actually like that's not his brother? I feel like Giannis is one of those guys that's like, I don't want to be your friend. Like we're opposing, like I can't be buddy. Like you already said, he doesn't work out with people in the summer because he doesn't want to like have any kind of relationship with them. Which I respect, man. I like that Giannis has that approach.
I like that too. I have no problem with it, honestly. Okay.
I think he's very much a Bucks or no one type person. It strikes me as so. Yeah.
That's why Bobby Portis is on our roster because he go to war with anybody
It's
too.
a good person to have.
Yeah, for sure. But I think that Kobe Bryant mentality. I got the mom mentality the other day. I was reading it, and he talks a little bit about that too. How he only works out with certain people because he wants to keep that competitive edge and that hatred going. And if we're playing against you, you got to lose, bro. Sorry. But I want to remind everybody that's watching and listening to us, you can find all your favorite NBC shows on Amazon Music. You just head over to amazon.com/NBC Sports to find out all your favorite podcasts and shows, fantasy and betting related. The rest of the Week 15 schedule, it's a big one. A lot of teams have 3 games. How about a little more than half a dozen have 2 games. Come back-to-backs on Schedule 2, Dan. What teams are you targeting this week or players in particular?
We talked about quite a few of them, I think, already. I think Paul Reed is a guy that you got to add. I think Andrew Nembhard and Aaron Nesmith are both under roster, considering more so Aaron Nesmith just because he's starting at small forward. But I think Nembhard also needs to be rostered. Memphis is having a ton of injuries, but they do play 3 games in 4 nights. So whoever is available between Luke Kennard and John Concher, I'd probably consider adding either of those guys. They do kind of the same thing. I prefer Luke Kennard, but if he's not out there, then Concher is probably going to get more minutes. I think he had a double-double not too long ago too. So he can do things. He can do things, even though you may not look at him and expect it. Other than that, yeah, it's kind of slim pickings, man. Like no, I don't like them actually. Yeah, I'd say that those are probably the main guys. The best schedule is really the Cleveland Cavaliers. They play Detroit, Memphis, and San Antonio on Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday. But I just don't know maybe look at the injury report. Maybe since there's a back-to-back on Wednesday and Thursday, maybe you can pick up Sam Merrill if you're looking for threes, or Isaac Okoro if you need some defensive stats. If one of those guys, Garland or Mobley missed the game, but I'd be hard pressed that the Stars are going to play in all of those games since they're playing such bad teams.
Yeah, definitely something worth noting too with the load management as well, and a lot of lineups get announced, an hour, a half hour before the game, which makes it very hard sometimes to get ahead of these news. But there's much better places you could follow, like a Yahoo Sports or Rotoworld NBC Sports. You can help get ahead of you on that type of stuff. So, Raphael, who are you looking at this week, players and teams?
I think we're approaching Cam Whitmore's season in Houston. I think he's been playing really well recently. Tari Eason, we still don't know when he will be available to play. And Whitmore has played well enough to where he's stuck in that rotation. Houston plays 3 games the remainder of this week. So I think he's one guy. In extremely deep leagues, I don't know. It doesn't really excite me to say this, but Cody Martin in Charlotte might be someone if you need some like defensive stats, because he's been playing starters minutes recently. You don't have to do that, but he's someone to consider if he remains a starter. But that whole situation down there is a joke as it is. So, we'll see.
Yeah, silly season in Charlotte's going to be pretty fun. Go, Dan.
Yeah, I just want to add one other player that his minutes are going up. He's averaging like almost 10 more minutes a game over the last 10 is Jabari Walker. I think he's going to continue to start power forward. And I don't know, he may not be a must-add now, but he's definitely someone as the season wears on that I think that they're going to showcase a lot more. So I wouldn't be mad if he jumped on it now before he's all the rage in a few weeks, because I think he's going to be pretty good. Good rebounder. I called him last week Paul Millsap. So, yeah, go pick up young Paul Millsap 2.0.
Yeah, no, I've been watching a few of the Portland games and watching him in particular, man, because I think he's a very interesting young player in the NBA, especially for Portland. He can do a number of things, but I've noticed, because we've been talking about obviously like guys like Larry Nance a lot lately. Rather have Jabari Parker than Larry Nance on my fantasy team. No,
it's Jabari Walker. It's Jabari. You said Jabari Parker.
Where's Jabari playing? He's like in Puerto Rico or something?
No, he's in Europe.
Bro.
He's in Europe. He's playing the Euro League.
Yeah,
he's playing the Euro. I forget which team he's playing for, but he's.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out which team he's playing for. Somewhere in Europe.
Yeah. But what I was going to say about Jabari Walker was that he's been having similar prop numbers to Larry Nance Jr., and they've been getting raised. And I kind of feel like Jabari Walker is a guy that's on the climb where he's getting the books. People are saying he's going to score 11, 12 points and grab 7, 8, 9 rebounds a night. And like if you're getting that type of production from him, I think he should be on a roster. Speaking of rosters,
I have one more name. They only play twice more this week, but I keep an eye on Jordan Hawkins in New Orleans. He's been playing more minutes because they need his 3-point shooting. Trey Murphy's had his issues with knee. He had the knee surgery to start the year. He's had the occasional rest game. So I think Jordan Hawkins is someone to keep an eye on. In deep leagues, you may want to get in there because I think he's going to be more important to that team as they approach the postseason. Yeah,
I absolutely love that call. I've been watching the Pelicans closely as well because, as I said, I've been Pelicans Mavericks in that division race. And CJ McCollum hasn't been playing that well lately. He's been really struggling to shoot the ball. And a guy like Jordan Hawkins has been giving them a little bit of instant offense that they've needed. So I love that call too, Raphael. Anybody else before we talk about the All-Star rosters and why Jalen Brunson got snubbed? You with me, Raphael?
Yeah, but
Brunson over Dame.
I mean,
their numbers are pretty comparable, man.
I agree, but it's
crazy.
Let's be honest, like
it's a popularity contest.
You have to have those years behind you to kind of build you up when it comes to that stuff. So I think that's probably got a lot to do with Dame being a starter. Look, Jalen's going to be a reserve on Thursday either way. So I don't know.
He'll be one of the first ones.
If he's not a reserve, then we'll talk about this next week. But yeah, I think
that would be the headline of next week's episode for sure.
Yeah, that would. Yeah,
you're gonna be a menace. But no. I think it's safe. But I just felt like he should have been the starter. I didn't have many complaints about the All-Star starters in general. I thought the West was perfect as is. I thought Luka and Shai, the guards were right. LeBron James and Durant and the Joker. And one thing that surprised me is Durant's stat line of 28.3 points per game. It's got to be the quietest 28 points per game in NBA history, to be honest with you. But for the East, you got Giannis and Embiid as the bigs, Tatum as the other four, then Tyrese Halliburton and Dame Dollar. Very happy to see Halliburton in there. But I would like to see Brunson, as I mentioned. So who are some of the guys you're expecting to get on the All-Star reserve roster? Feel free to jump in.
I feel like the West is going to be kind of hard to determine who's going to make the cut. Because I think you could argue, Paul George should be on there, De'Aaron Fox, Domantas Sabonis, Anthony Edwards, Anthony Davis. You know what I'm saying? Like that list is going to be really hard to dwindle down. And I hope that De'Aaron Fox makes it. Like, I think he's having a great year. I think that the coaches or whoever votes on it is eventually going to have to make a decision between Domantas and Fox. And I hope Fox gets the nod, but I understand if they pick Domantas.
But a guy like Paul George or Kawhi Leonard should make it. I think we could probably agree with that. But Paul George might be the guy in the mix with Fox or Sabonis that might get left out. Devin Booker, Anthony Davis too, or
Booker definitely
two other
needs
names.
to be on there. Yep.
Yeah, and Anthony Edwards having a great season, Raphael. So
yeah,
we didn't even mention Steph Curry. It could be a snub.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, you're going to have some guys getting snubbed in both conferences. I wish there were 15-man rosters instead of 12, but it is what it is. I think what I'm interested to see is what happens with Tyrese Maxey and Trae Young. Now, Tyrese has been injured recently, so he's missed some time. Trae Young's going to come on a bit in terms of the individual stats. I don't know if there's going to be room for both of those guys, and if so, who kind of misses out. But, those two, how many Celtics get in as well? You already have Tatum as a starter. They've clearly been the best team in the NBA overall. How much does winning get rewarded there in terms of like a Jalen Brown or a Kristaps Porzingis? I don't know. I think Derek White is a bit of a wild card. I wouldn't have him on that radar, but you never know. You think back to the year the Hawks, they won like 62 games and sent four people to the All-Star game one year. Maybe, you never know. Like, I think Kyle Korver was an All-Star that year, if I'm not mistaken. So there may be a wild card. Yeah,
he was. No, he was. I remember that year and thinking how crazy he was, but everyone knew how great the Hawks were, but no one expected the Hawks to win it all. And I was like, maybe this is the NBA's like, here you go, Atlanta. Like, this is your season.
You had a great run. Here's your 4 All-Stars, even though you don't have to stand a chance. But I don't know. I feel like the 4 Celtics are deserving of it. Maybe not so much Porzingis because of the games missed, but like Derek White's been like such an impactful player for them on both ends. I think he should make it at least. And then I'd be okay with Jalen Brown and Jason Tatum. If it becomes down to Maxey and Trae Young, though, I feel like you got to look to the record a little bit. And I would give the edge to Maxey, but I could understand why, because Trae, he has the numbers certainly to be an all-star, that he should be on that team too. It's going to be, both sides are definitely going to have people left off. You got to expand it to 15, as Raph said.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because, I still feel like Julius Randle, Bam Adebayo, Kristaps Porzingis, you said these type of guys all have had pretty good seasons that should be on all-star rosters, but it's just tough when you have to pick against each one. And considering some of these guys have had injuries, like a Bam Adebayo or Randle now, does that cost Randle a spot? And then one of these guys gets subbed in and Randle can't play. So that's something that we keep an eye on too, like maybe Paolo Banchero is a guy that gets
Barnes,
in there. Scotty Barnes as well. And a big thing in the futures market that I pay attention to every year, because it's been a theme that about, I want to say the last 10 to 12 years, like 90% of these guys that win most improved player are making an all-star game for the first time. So that's something I'm looking at here in this race, and also a couple of these guys like the Maxey.
That sounds like Tyrese Maxey.
Scotty Barnes.
Yeah. And Scotty Barnes too. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, like, those two in particular guys I'm eyeing up here, like, are you going to make this game? Because that is very key for your second half of the season, especially for the voters. Because they don't get it right, but that's something they really hone in on that I do think is important. So, Maxey versus Young, I agree it's Maxey. Any other takes here Would there be anyone you'd be very upset with if they get snubbed off of this list? That's very potentially to happen.
I don't really know.
If Donovan Mitchell or Jaylen Brown don't make the East,
okay,
I'd actually be okay if Jaylen Brown didn't make it.
Mitchell would be a serious problem if he didn't make it. Yeah, he has to be in that game.
Okay.
Like Jared Allen. Like he's played really well, but I'm not. But I don't expect him to. He doesn't have the popularity, and I don't know. He hasn't done it for long enough. But he's been one of the main reasons why they've won all these games, right? So I don't know. I feel like he's probably going to get snubbed.
And West Side, Anthony Davis, is he 100% safe to get in here? Him, Kawhi Leonard, Curry, and Edwards. We know those four getting in. Safe.
Yeah, they're safe. All right. But like Kyrie Irving, I don't know if Kyrie's gonna. Does he have the game?
Honestly, forgot about Kyrie Irving, man.
His numbers are great, but like you put him over Book. I don't want to put him over Fox. It's a bonus. You know, like they need to expand to 15. Like they're just making it too hard. Just expand the roster, man.
Your regular rosters are 15 players. You know, and plus they came up with 12-player rosters back when the NBA was small. You have 30 teams now, right? You know? Yeah. Like, come on.
It's funny how much they worry about the wrong shit in the NBA, right? Like, fix the little things, man. Like, it's not that complicated.
Yeah. Fix the dunk contest. And I have the way to do that, but we'll get to that later closer. I think I might have told Raphaelle this before. 3-point contest is fine.
You gotta save that one. Yeah, you gotta save that one when we get
absolutely
close to
saving that. I'm telling you, it is the future. They're saving the NBA dunk contest, and I'm gonna have to make a real viral TikTok video or something just to get someone's attention.
Please do.
But no, I love the 3-point contest. I think it should stay. I think it's the most entertaining thing the NBA All-Star Weekend has to offer. Honestly,
it really is,
because shooting is really a pure art form. I mean, it is not easy. When you think anybody could go to the NBA, you watch these guys in practice. They're hitting 80 out of 100 3-pointers from a corner in one spot. Like, these guys are efficient. They miss in games because it's much harder to hit in a game than practice. But 3-point contest, the absolute best. Skills challenge.
Who are you taking, Sabrina or Steph?
I mean, Steph Curry is the greatest 3-point shooter ever.
Until you,
I might be a millennial.
We'll see.
I might be a millennial, but I mean,
no, I think it's fun that they're doing it though. I think that would be cool, especially after what she did last year.
Yeah, that's official. It's official. That's happening. I think my only question is, Sabrina said on Twitter that she would shoot from the NBA line. It was initially she's going to shoot from the WNBA line. So I have no doubt that she can take that step back and shoot from the NBA line. But I think doing it in that setting is different than someone who does it in games all the time. So I think that would give Steph the slight edge for that reason.
Yeah,
I'd actually leave it the same. Like, let her play with the women's ball, and shoot from the WNBA 3, and just let them go at it and go for their environments, right? Like, I don't even think she needs.
Yeah, that's what they wanted to do. But she said she's going to shoot from the NBA line.
She's trying to put on for all the women, man. I might have to throw a few bones on her, a few McDonald's dollars. You know what I'm saying?
Are they only doing one round, or are they doing multiple?
I assume just one round.
Oh, okay. Because I would like to see them go, like, I don't know, give it a 2 out of 3 or something like that, so she can get warmed up in case the adjustment isn't as easy as she thought.
That's true. Yeah, I don't think we're going to have a Draymond Green, Kevin Hart situation here.
Allen Iverson on there, man. Like, Allen Iverson had no business ever being in the 3-point competition.
Yeah, but now I'm looking forward to seeing who gets into the All-Star game and who's representing All-Star Weekend. I think it's always a fun weekend of basketball just to watch, although, these guys don't take the game as serious as we would like. The dunk contest has dwindled lately, but I still think it's worthwhile, much better than an NFL Pro Bowl, which I will never watch.
Flag football now? Come on.
5 seasons.
Doing, people?
5 seasons, and I'm going to make it 6. Yeah, it's a joke. My grandparents called me the other day and asked me if I was going to come over and watch the Pro Bowl this year. I was like, you're going to ask about the Super Bowl? Pro Bowl? I'm not doing either. But anyways, it was a great show, guys. Anybody you want to shout out before we get out of here? Dan, I'll let you start. Any shout outs?
Nah, man. Shout out to y'all for tuning in on Twitch and watching our show, subscribing, liking it. Yeah, man. Love Rotoworld Basketball Show, man. It's great. Love talking to y'all, talking hoops.
Raphael, what you got?
Yeah, I'm the same. Thanks to all the listeners and viewers. Thanks to our great producer Adam in the background. I don't know. I don't really shout out the people who spend all day arguing on Twitter. Like, okay.
Those people are real hard at work, bro.
Like, bro, go outside, man. Get paid or something. Shit. But but yeah, that's it, man. We're good, man. I'm sorry.
No, I'm gonna double back on what you just said and give a piece of advice for those people too and other people, because it's very easy on social media to get upset and let things ruin your day. It's also easy to go to the store, do anything, and let a certain situation ruin your day. But everyone watching and listening, have the ability to control your reactions to situations. So you go ahead and have a positive set day. Go be safe. Get off of Twitter and stop arguing with people. And make sure you check out Yahoo Sports and NBC Sports for all your fantasy needs. Thank you guys so much for watching. From Dan, Raphael, Vaughn, and our producers in the back. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.